DBX has a significant history in the professional audio world, with their range of compressor limiters being commonplace in live effects racks and in studios the world over, particularly during the 1970s and 1980s. David Blackmer, an engineer and entrepreneur, started DBX in 1971, and the first product was the DBX 202 Boombox, a portable bass amplifier that used a unique solid-state distortion circuit to produce a powerful and dynamic bass sound. DBX went on to create noise reduction systems for consumer tape recorders and achieved greater noise reduction than the main competitor, Dolby. The big breakthrough for DBX as a company, however, would come some years later. In 1976, DBX released their first dynamic range compressor for professional audio. However, Blackmer, whose main goal for many years was to increase the dynamic range of recorded audio, reportedly did not approve of the idea. Despite this, the 2-rack space, half-width box became popular with engineers seeking cost-effective alternatives to devices like the legendary LA3A and 1176, despite its limited features. It is worth noting that the DBX 160's compression curve had a hard knee, meaning compression onset was immediate, resulting in noticeable compression depending on the ratio and threshold settings. As with many audio devices that have achieved classic status, these perceived shortcomings were not necessarily a disadvantage and often contributed to their desirability. The DBX 160 utilised the first commercial version of the Blackmer gain cell, the 200 VCA, and its companion RMS detector, the 207 and 208. Both were discrete transistor devices on small printed circuit boards potted in metal enclosures. One persistent myth about the DBX 160 is that it has balanced I/O. The input stage is indeed a textbook differential amplifier built around a TL082 FET op-amp with a gain of -6 dB. However, the output driver is different and unbalanced. The 160's ground cancelling output uses a non-inverting driver circuit, which is a single output op-amp stage with push-pull drive transistors driving pin 2, with pin 3 designed to cancel out any unwanted voltages, such as ground hum, that may appear on pin 1, which is the ground. The gain of this stage is set at +10 dB. Over the years, the DBX 160 has been used on countless classic recordings, including Linda Ronstadt's Poor Poor Pitiful Me, off the hugely successful Simple Dreams album, Purple Rain by Prince, Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer, and Kim Carnes's Bette Davis Eyes, to name but a few. The next model to enter the DBX range was the DBX 162. The DBX 162 is often incorrectly referred to as a stereo DBX 160. However, this isn't quite the case. There are a few key differences. First, where the core of the DBX 160 was the 200 VCA and 207 RMS detector, the DBX 162 used the 210 VCA, a 4-transistor device on a daughter card instead of the expected potted can. Stereo operation is made possible by a dual RMS detector with 2 inputs and a single output. Both channels are summed to a single sidechain. Inputs are balanced differential amplifiers. Outputs are unbalanced and ground cancelling. Both inputs and outputs remain on terminal strips. The threshold control is still labelled in volts, though some older versions retain the DBX 160's 10 mV to 3 volt threshold labelling, while a newer version omits the unit altogether and is simply labelled 0.01 to 3. The DBX 165, which followed, was clearly intended to be the flagship of DBX's professional audio lineup. It was built around the latest 8-transistor 202 VCA and an 8-pin DIP IC RMS detector. The DBX 165 had a fully balanced differential amplifier input, although the output remained single-ended, with the cold signal output terminal internally connected to the ground terminal. The DBX 165 had attack and release controls, a threshold control labelled in proper dB units, and most significantly, was the first DBX device to feature over-easy soft knee compression. Unlike its predecessors, the DBX 165 was capable of stereo linking using a proprietary cable. The DBX 165 also added sidechain detector access on the I/O terminal strip. The DBX 165A took the DBX 165 and added the peak stop limiter, a diode-based hard limiter. The addition of the peak stop limiter to the DBX 165A is widely regarded as a subpar enhancement due to its diode-based hard limiting, which many people believe produces unfavourable sound quality. The DBX 165A was the last DBX product to use the classic DBX industrial design that started with the DBX 160. Moving forward, the company began using standard single rack unit chassis for all of their dynamic range controllers, which began with the DBX 160X. The DBX 160X introduced a number of noteworthy differences from the original DBX 160. Foremost, it featured LED input and gain reduction meters. The DBX 160X introduced a simplified method of stereo coupling through an extra 1/4-inch TRS connector, as well as external sidechain access on the I/O terminal strip. Despite its early success in the 1970s and 1980s, DBX faced significant challenges in the 1990s and 2000s. The rise of digital audio technology and the proliferation of affordable home recording equipment led to a decline in demand for professional audio gear, and DBX struggled to adapt to the changing market. As a testament to David Blackmer's brilliant engineering, many of these classic DBX compressors are still in use around the world in many top recording studios to this day. Which is your favourite DBX compressor? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.